Okay, so hello everyone. It's a pleasure to be here today to talk to you about UX and overall a case about a project that I made with the ANFR, which is the French agency for regulation about radio frequencies. My name is Thomas Chataigner, and the title of my presentation is The UX Strikes Back, because I want to showcase how the UX has improved on a large scale for a one-year duration in the Ethereum ecosystem. So I'm an information system engineer, kind of a new one actually. I graduated a year ago. I came into the Ethereum ecosystem for cryptocurrency at first and the economic relation behind it, but I stayed for the philosophy and how actually decentralization could help our society and how we work today. I've developed a few projects, mainly on Ethereum, Hyperledger Fabric, and Hyperledger Solus. And yeah, I'm a developer in a startup called Blockchain Partner, which is based in Paris. We do four main works, which are training, technical development, plug-and-play products, and also consulting. We try to bring forth cryptocurrency in our society by going through work and how people would use blockchain in their work, in their daily life. So who is the ANFR, this agency? So they watch over radio frequencies, as I said, on the French territory. But you have to know that those frequencies, it's actually free of rights. So anybody could book them, or anybody who would want to use them. So they can't really administrate it. They can only help on the planning and on synchronizing every actors and every users on your platform. They will be here on events, on site, to help people book their frequency and use them. And they also represent France in an international debates and legislation to make sure that our interests are there and that France can speak on those matters. So what are the different problems that it poses to be central actors and not being able to administrate anything? Well, it's a lot of time and manpower to waste, because you can't really tell people how they will book their frequency, how they have to do that. I mean, right now they go through a lot of Excel sheets and it's very messy. Also, there's a lack of visibility for the user when they want to book a frequency. Well, they don't know how the ANFR will assign that and how they will actually give it. So maybe they prefer French media over Spanish media or something. And those two factors combined, well, it makes it that it's hard to onboard and it's hard to get into that matter, because you don't know what to send, you don't know who to contact, so nothing works. And what they did, they wanted to build a dApp to ease and the management and the monitoring for free radio frequencies. So main criteria for this dApp, it's actually for it to be autonomous. The people using it, the user using it, they need to be responsible for what they do, and they need to be autonomous. They need to feel great when using the platform, so it needs to be user-friendly, and they need to be in the good mindset, and they need to want to stop using Excel or whatsoever. Also, the third criteria, which is really important, is the cost, because it's a public agency. They have no funds. They can't really afford to pay too much to make it run. And so it needs to be free of cost as much as possible. To get to those criteria, we divided the whole development into two phases. The first one being an MVP, which was built between April and July 2018. And the second part, which was built between November 2018 and March 2019. You have to know that when I started developing that, I was new in the Ethereum ecosystem and dApp development overall. And what I want to do is right now give a feedback on the problem I and the team project encountered and how we dealt with them. And that will showcase how much the ecosystem has evolved in a year. So first problem we had, Ether management. As I said, the ANFR is a public agency. They don't want to pay for user transaction. Then the user, they don't know how to buy Ether. They don't want to buy Ether too, because it's for their work. So why would people pay to do their work? So it was kind of a problem for the agency. And so as a new developer, I had no solution. I couldn't see what to do. And after thinking it over, well, if nobody wants to pay, then it needs to be free, right? So the only solution we had was okay, let's deploy a private chain at the time. And so we went for POA click consensus, and we just made it easy to deploy some nodes, Docker images, automation. And that solved our transactions fee problem. And it also helped a bit with scalability, so validation time being way less than it is on the mainnet. Users don't really have to wait for the transaction to pass through. So that worked. We went back on development. We went back on our contracts. We developed them. Then arrived the time for integration, right? So integration, we did it. We did the first presentation to our clients through the NFR. And they did not understood what was a wallet and why they had to sign a transaction and how that happened. So, and it was a problem. And the other problem was that we needed multiple devices, because if you create an event, for example, the Tour de France or whatsoever, and you book some frequencies at home, and you want on that event to show that that frequency is yours and you are the right owner of that frequency, well, you need to have either your private key on the same on two different wallets, or another system behind it. And also signing transactions, well, it had a clicks between your user and your functionality. So it's something that in current UX standard is quite bad, and that's not what you want on the web right now. So how did we deal with that? We thought it over, and what we thought of was generate a key pair on the client side, and then encrypt it with a client secret, store it into a storage, a private storage somewhere, and when the user wants to log in or just want to retrieve his key pair, well, we give him back what was encrypted, and he can de-encrypt it with his secrets. So those solution, right, they were the first solution I came up with, and what I had the time to do too. But I was kind of like that, and so what is that? What did I just develop? Because it's a private chain. You don't really own your wallet. You don't really own your key. I mean, you own the keys, but it's not on your device. So it's nothing like blockchain try to put first and try to put forward. So I was kind of depressed, and the team project too, about that, and we wanted to do something greater, something better. So we thought it over. We've talked about it internally, and we decided to go back to the ANFR in September and try to tell them that, see, so we did something that worked, but it's not the best, and we want to make it better. And so we just talked with them, and after looking over the internet, what development was made between last March and September of last year, well, we saw that the UX had a rise in the Ethereum development community, and it was more active, and they tried to do something better. And so after showing that to the NFR, well, they said yes, and they said, okay, guys, you did a great job on the first iteration, it's working now, so now just try to do something better and improve the solution you've built for us. So we thought it back, and we went back on the first problem we had, which was the private chain and the Ether management. Well, that was too bad, because it was still too early for them to use Ether, and they didn't want it to pay every time they do a transaction. So now that you have that criteria, how do you make it better? Well, you could think about your private chain and try to, I don't know, just more decentralized. So we try to involve more actors. So for example, new agencies, we went to European agencies, so UK, Italy, Germany, and we talked to them about our philosophy and what we wanted to achieve. And so by facilitating node deployment, validators deployment, well, they actually said yes, and we're right now in current talk with them about how they could integrate the whole private chain. In an idea, I would say, to deploy on the mainnet too, well, we increased validation time. That sounds kind of off, because if you talk about UX and you can put like 1 second validation time every time, well, you want to do that. But actually, because we want to deploy on the mainnet on a short or average time from now, it would be better before scalability solutions comes out to make them used to having to wait for their transactions. So right now, I think validation time is around 6 seconds. So it's half of what Ethereum mainnet can do at best capacities. But it's still great, and we think it's a better choice. Also, about deploying on the mainnet, we try to build reusable libraries. So that means that your contracts, when you want to deploy them, you need to make it so that you don't have to deploy them every time. Build the logic, the workflow of the dApp you're building into libraries, make it so that you don't have to redeploy every time, and so the gas cost for deploying it is way reduced, I guess. And also, we remodeled the whole data set into interval trees, which makes it so that when you do an operation on some booking, so I want to cancel my booking, I want to make a new one or just search for one, the time that you have to wait is just O log n, the number of nodes you're going through. And so gas consumption is really reduced thanks to that. And yeah, so thanks to that, I think that the dApp itself, the contracts, it can be deployed on the mainnet, and the cost you would need to run it is actually as less as possible. And now that we've dealt with that, so with the architecture and the overall conception, well, you need to deal with the main problem, which is your client side, your user side, so the people that will go on your dApp and use it. Right now, the main problem, I guess, you could say, is wallet management, so the other problem we identified previously. And we decided to improve it by focusing on 3 axes. The first one is platform UX and UI. And then the second one is education. And finally, the last one is the multi-device part, because as I said previously, when you create an event and you want to show on that event that you have your bookings, that you own your bookings, and you want to cancel one or to do a new one, you need to be able to do it as if you were at home. So for the platform UI and UX, well, how do you make it so that even before talking with MetaMask or talking with any wallet or sending transaction, how do you make it so that the people, the users that are on your platform likes it? Well, you just create a neat interface. So you do it so that you have a good graphic chart, you have a good workflow. People, they don't have to think when they go on your website, and they know where to go instantly. So when they do that, they will go through the logic really easily, and it will be really smooth. And when they arrive at the end of the logic, and then you have to trigger MetaMask, well, or any user or any signing protocol you have, well, you need to make it trigger no more than once or twice, but as less as possible, because the user, they will use your platform, they will be happy with what you've done with UI, UX, and the workflow, but then like pop-up shows up and they have to sign it. So it's really disturbing, and it's really strange for them. So you need to make it so that it's really seamless. And when that arrives and they have to sign the transaction, well, maybe just pop up a nice loading screen with a loading bar and some animation colors or something, because people, they don't want to get bored. And something that I learned with this project development is that the users, they like little stuff, little details that sometimes seems useless, but for them it's perfect. Little animation, as I said, something that goes through the screen, something that turns, just keep them happy and keep them amused by what they see. So second axis of focus, education. Education, so what does that mean? You have to take half a day, maybe more, to talk to your key users, the key stakeholders of the platform. So in our case, it was the main French media, like France Télévisions, for example, or the ANFR, and you just go with them through the platform, through how blockchain works. So how do you sign? Why would you sign a transaction? Why it is important to own your own private key, to own a seed phrase? How does that work? How do you keep it safe? How do you install different wallets? And if you do that, well, those key users, they will just talk with your normal user. They will just talk with any user, and the word will spread, and people, they will get it, and they will get it by talking with another of their peer, and not just to you or any support that they could find. But there will still be some user that comes onto your platform, your dApp, and they don't have anyone to talk to, and they still don't want to search on the internet. But then, how do you make them use your platform? Well, you just write some guides, PDF, for example, and you even try to do some interactive ones. So maybe a little website, one-pager that you can click on if you're lost and you know instantly what to do. You do some videos. You try to make something so that people, when they arrive, they know where to go, what to download, and how to install it, and why they do that. So I think that education is something that needs to be done, and at all level, and it needs to be worked on. Finally, on the last axis that we focused on for the platform, the multi-device identity. At the time, in April 2018, we didn't have much solution, and we were a bit lost, and so we just decided to make a centralized wallet, if I could say. But then we had some luck, because in October, November of last year, thanks to Origin Protocol and what they have achieved, the standard ERC 725 was completed. And this smart contract for identity over the blockchain, well, it's really actually helped us, because thanks to that, we could have multiple wallets, so multiple devices, use their address to access an identity contract, and make it so that we know that which cell phone is linked to which account, and so is linked to which bookings. So, and that helped us with flexibility too, because imagine I'm on an event, I lose my cell phone, or I get my cell phone and my computer stolen or whatsoever. Well, you can actually make it so that right now the ANFR, they can reset your identity and just set a new address to access that identity. So it's like a normal website functionment, and it's really great for the user experience overall, and they do not fear to lose their access to their account. And that actually helped us, because now we can go forward with the project, and we can think over of some next steps. So in 2 weeks, we'll have a closed beta with the ANFR and some of the major French media. And we will be able to go live on the first event we discussed with them, with a partner. I can't really disclose it, but with one of our partners, and try to put this application to use for media to go on an event and just book frequencies for the camera, the microphone, and make it work. And if that event goes well and people understand how that works and they know how to use that, and it's actually successful, well, we will have a public release right after. And if that public release goes well, anybody that wants to create an event and have some media cover it could use, on the French territory at least, they would be able to use our platform to book frequencies and make it so that everybody can transmit it from anywhere. After those steps and after our first public release, well, we thought of some upgrades, because you always have a possibility for upgrading your platform and make it better. So the first one, it would be the point that I said earlier about the ANFR being able to reset your identity, right? Because that makes a central actor, and so the tab cannot be really used by a single person. But then, what if you just distribute that right, and you make it so that some of your friends, some of your colleagues, they are the one that can reset your identity. So maybe with a multi-signature wallet or something like that, you can make it so that your friends, they actually, 20 of them, they can say, hey, that's my friend, and here is his new address, and he wants to reset his account because he lost his computer. And so thanks to that, you can reset your account without having to wait for the NFR to take action or having to talk with them at all. Second, recent upgrade we identified. So there's a lot of layer 2 development that's being done right now in Ethereum. And one of them is XDAI, which came out. It's really nice, I think, in terms of how you can sell it to any client or user, because you can say, hey, so you can have like a mainnet-like production-ready chain that is ready for your project, but then it's a bit faster, and whenever you pay for a transaction, you won't have to know how much it is in Ether or whatever Ether is or gas is, but you will have to, you can pay it with US dollar. And so for any user, normal user, I would say people that have no idea of how blockchain work, well, that's an improvement, and they could actually buy it. So right now we are identifying if it's possible for us to go on that, and if that is, well, we will do it instantly. And then, last but not least, we are in talk with Friends Connect, which is an identity tool in France to connect to your social care accounts, to connect to your taxes account. And we are trying to see if it would be possible for us to integrate a wallet in their solution. So they came to us first asking if we could put the wallet inside that solution. We said maybe, we don't know, we need to see if that's possible, if there's a solution, and right now we're trying to see if that's possible. And once again, that could be a really nice upgrade, and that could be, to me, something that would really be nice to achieve, because it would show that administrations, well, it's not like they don't care about what we're doing here in the Ethereum ecosystem. It's more about they're beginning to understand it, and they want to build some stuff on that. Now I will just talk about the takeaway that I had personally from that project, mostly, and how it felt as being a new developer last year coming into a dApp creation, how it felt to work on that environment. Well, first, for your project, yourself, your client, and the user of your dApp, they need to be ready to adapt to a lot of stuff. As I said multiple times already, everything's going fast, layer 2 innovation, identity innovation, different wallets, different solutions. Well, if you're not ready to adapt, you're going to get lost, and everybody needs to know that. Again, spend a lot of time on education. I know it seems bothersome, and I know that sometimes people that just can't get it, it's well, you just hate those people. But you have to spend time on educating them and having to repeat like 10 times if you need that. Because if they don't get why they need a wallet, why they need to sign their transaction, well, they just don't want to do that, and they just would not use your app at all. And finally, well, to me, waiting can be a solution. As we've seen, I mean, the first part of the project we did, I wasn't proud of it at all, and I was like, okay, that's like, I could have built a web app with any database behind it, like MongoDB or whatsoever, it would have done the same. But now, because we are waiting and we are talking with people, waiting for their answers and trying to convince them that it's better, and we took times to build it, to build something greater, well, right, it's a better application. And if we take, for example, I cannot do a live demo here because we have to get permission and everything. But if I show you the first version of what we've done, right, it was really there. So we needed to work on that, because the UI and UX, well, it's not really, you can't know where to go and you don't know what's happening. Well, if you work on a better UI, on something neater and something better, well, I guess that if you use MetaMask over that and you added some bit of effects and some animations, well, it would be easier for you to understand what's going on and why you need to use this. Okay, so I just want to thank the EthCC and the Asset for inviting me here to talk about that project. That's something I'm quite proud of, I have to say, because that's the first application I've built over Ethereum, and that was pretty hard, but also the ecosystem, they're really nice, and you can always find someone to talk to improve. I would also like to thank the team project I worked with, because they were really comprehensive and they helped us, they helped me actually a lot. And then I want to thank the NFR for being a really nice client and just being comprehensive about blockchain, the philosophy, and overall the user that wants to use the dApp and what we need to do for them. So thank you very much, guys. If anybody has a question about anything, whatever. So the main difference we had, I did other projects with private companies, right, compared to the government. It was actually quite surprising, because the ANFR, they were more open to innovation, the public sector, because they have some of their budget is actually opened for that type of development. And compared to a private company, which is really close to its money, and sometimes they tend to go by strict rules and make it so that the money is not wasted. Well, there, if you had the good arguments and you could show them that investing more times it was better, well, they had the time, and because they had budget for special innovation, they were ready to wait, and they were ready to allow for more development and trying to do something greater.